there's a saying that men are born to die. Do you think there's a heavier burden on men to leave a legacy than women? I do, I mean, and I would, I can't think for a woman, so I can't, I'm not saying that men do have it. So any
Mm.
woman listening this, I would want to know if you all think about legacy as much as we do. But do you think there's a heavier burden on men to leave a legacy behind? Do you think it has anything to do with yeah, yes, simple as that. Like we all they we hear stories about great men and legacy and all of these things. Do you think that has anything to do with us having this very conversation?
What what if we had what if we had nothing to go off? What if we had no Martin Luther King, no Sam Sharp, none of these great men that have achieved any great things? What if we had no example to go off to say, okay, this is what I want to achieve or whatever? Like, what if we were
Hmm.
just a blank sheet that would just come into the world, have some pitney, and we just dead? Like, no. What if that was the case? At that point, wouldn't that still be a legacy though?
Yes,
And
yes,
Yeah.
it would
yes.
still be a legacy within itself. So, and I say that because from Natu talking, I just sat here and I was processing, and he said something very key, and the comparison part, and I feel like maybe we take this comparison thing a bit extreme because we look at all of these men and we say, oh, they're great men, they're great this, they're great that because they left such magnificent legacies behind. However, there are some great men that we don't even know
Right,
exist
right.
as well
Yep.
And
that also did some tremendous things, whether it be in their family, whether it be in their community, and
yeah,
they're not. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
just because it's not
what if we
documented doesn't make it any
exactly,
less.
Right.
precisely? So that's what I'm saying. Maybe if we take the emphasis off the known and focus on the unknown and focusing on just
The known and the valorized and the glorified,
Yeah.
exactly
you know,
and focus on just running your race, living a good life,
and being
being
a good person, bro.
being a
Like,
moral good person, and not
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
really not trying to knock off or to reach a Martin Luther King. I need to write 3, 4, 5 books. I need to do this. I need to send, just genuinely
Listen,
just do what is in your heart and not look at the noise. Because I feel like the truth is there's a lot of noise out there. There's a whole lot of noise out there. And
oh, there's more
if
noise
I'm being
inside here.
it,
Yeah.
and the noise that's out there, it affects the noise that's in here because it's a constant battle between both. It's a constant battle between both. Like as Natu said, like one of Natu's what he pretty much said is, the comparison. He sees stuff out there, he does that. But let's just break that aside and let's look at you. What you've already achieved, it might seem small to you, but you use the word humble beginnings. From those humble beginnings, you don't know how many of those people still in those humble beginnings look at what you probably look at you as a Martin Luther King.
Yeah, and look, and not even what you achieve, who you are, bro. Like,
I,
just
I,
like, yeah,
exactly. So sometime, maybe if we, and it's very hard to do, don't because I am not going to lie to you. There are times I sit down and I'm like, yo, I'll be scrolling through. I'm gonna be honest. I'll be scrolling through Instagram sometime, and I follow a lot of these wealth pages and all of this, and I'll probably see Forbes or one of these people post some 23-year-old billionaire or some 23-year-old shit, and I'm like, yo,
and I
like
say, well, what may I do with my life?
what may I
Yeah.
do preserve? Like,
Yeah.
like, and then me stop for real, and then sometime I have to stop myself and just stop. Like, you have your own race to run. You've already achieved so much that if I was supposed to compare it, yes, it's not to that level, but there are people who will never achieve what I have achieved, and vice versa, right? However, that isn't the goal. So it is very hard. So there are times that like you consciously have to quiet the noise because it can get to you. And even within your own circle of friends, even within your own circle of friends, you can probably, yes, you're proud of their achievement, but you're like, shit, like, I wonder if me feel, they said you're the sum of the people you spend the most time around. Sometimes you might see people you spend the most time around and they're excelling, and to you, you ain't doing shit. To you, you ain't doing shit because of the magnitude at which these people that you associate yourself with are
Yeah,
performing, and
and
it can weigh
and whole
heavily
time
on
and
you.
whole time they're looking at you thinking the very same thing. If you
Exactly.
if you understand what I'm saying, like, so you looking at them saying, yo, then and them looking at you like, yo, that man there. You understand what I'm
Ma-
saying? So
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe sometime, you know, blank out, blank out the noise. It's the same thing, like, and this noise that I talk about is even, it comes in so many different ways. Young men or women deciding that, hey, I reached 35 and I'm not married, I'm useless. I reached 35 and I don't have a kid, my life is done. I reached 35 and I don't own a house. Like, I'll never own a house. Like, when did owning a house become a gold standard of making it or being somebody, right? It's all noise. When did owning a car at 25, like one of my best friends, we know him. When I was in high school, this dude was driving cars. When I was in university, this dude probably changed. When we were youth, this dude probably changed like 5 car already. That's more car than some people ever changed in their lifetime. However, I got cars afterwards, and cars became nothing afterwards. It's like, yo, like, does it matter if I got it at 16 or at 20 something?
there
When
you
I
go.
got it, the feeling still,
Exactly.
it
Yeah,
still felt the
exactly.
same. And did I
Exactly.
feel, did I feel accomplished or whatever? For the moment, you're like, yeah, okay, I have something, but it fade by, like, you don't even clean it no more. You don't even care about it no
Brother.
more. So
Two
I
minutes,
think,
2 days.
I think,
maybe
I think,
there's too much noise around, and it affects us. And I soon let you talk now to I wrapping up. But when I look back at it and I say, even our parents or our grandparents, I would like to say, yes, they had their own level of things that they wanted to achieve, but it wasn't, they just wanted their kids to be better than
That is legacy.
that.
yeah,
And my
Yeah.
mother, my parents never yet said to me, you need to accomplish this, you need to be the prime minister of Jamaica, you need to own $10 million, you need to, no.
Mm,
My parents, and I deeply know, they just wanted to look at me and said they gave me a good life and I turned out better than them.
simple.
And I feel like if we kind of bring that up, emulate that without, while quieting the noise and all the fluff that's going on out there, because believe it, there's a lot of fluff that's going out there, and there's a lot of things that look a certain way, but it's not reality. It's all smoke screen. It's all bells. It's all smokes and whistles. So
I
that's
think
that's what
Facts.
I say.
there's a lot of truth to what Rimji just said. A lot of the noise. I think perhaps a reason why it's difficult to shut things off is that a lot of things that we consider to be, legacy worthy are collaborative. Like we depend on things outside of ourselves to get them. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I made the argument that there's a certain kind of arrogance that underpins, effort and optimism. And the reason why I said that is, even as we're having a conversation about legacy, I think back to my grandfather, and maybe to his grandfather, and these weren't conversations I imagine they were having. I believe they were focused on living their life to the best that they could, and 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 they weren't concerned about legacy. They were concerned about living. Legacy is what we, the living, are concerned about the dead, and we won't have a say in our legacy once we go, because no matter how much good you do, if somebody determined that you were a monster, and that is the legacy that they will be pushing, that is the narrative that they will be funneling,
Yeah.
you cannot combat that. And so the fact that we're having this conversation, it reminds me of that conversation I had about the arrogance, in that we have these expectations. So when I talk about there is a certain arrogance that underpins optimism, it's we expect that things will be better regardless of what the evidence shows. If we have been in a time of war, we expect, we say nothing lasts forever. There's this expectation that this might change. And sometimes that might be true, but the context is this might not change in our lifetime. And I feel like that is the thing that contributes to the angst that we feel when it comes down to, what am I doing with my life? Because you are aware that sometimes, no matter how much effort you invest in something, for what you are doing to work, it requires collaboration from the forces you are trying to apply your effort toward. I wrote this thing some years back, and I said no matter how much you water a rock, it will never bear fruit. And so you have to be conscious of the thing that you are investing your effort towards. Because you might be trying to build your legacy around, let's say you are not somebody who is good with finances, but you are trying to build your legacy around being like a financial person, like give tips and all of that something that the evidence of your life does not reflect the legacy that you're trying to build. And so I feel like on some level it is a bit of a fool's errand to try to curate your own legacy, because at the end of the day you will have no say in it. The best that you can do is to live a life that it is beneficial to those around you and it is fulfilling to you. Because legacy, I feel like, has a lot to do with narratives, the story of your life. And when the story of your life is being told, it is quite likely that you will be lying in a box, unable to contribute to what that story is. So maybe the way to avoid the anxiety that comes with thinking about the legacy is to think less about what we're leaving behind and to think more about what we're building or trying to build. And whether that be relationships, businesses, and I believe I I believe the most important legacies we can leave behind, are the relationships that we're able to cultivate with people. There is a sort of ego intertwined in thinking that having a big title or having a big house or a very fancy car is something people remember you for. Like, oh yeah, see man never did have a big house, but that's just an observation of something that is not necessarily a true reflection of what your actual life was. You had the car, but people don't see a car in a car in that time. You had the house, but people don't see a word about the bills them that you had to pay because of that big house. You had some men, for example, might say, oh, I want to have a bag of woman. You have a bag of woman. The legacy of that was constant headaches. You couldn't afford for foot certain lifestyles for them. So we kind of can cut back down on the grandiosity of some of the things that we're trying to achieve. And that's, advice for me as well. And I'm not necessarily trying to be grand. I just feel like I'm supposed to elevate the lives of the people around me, and sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a good job of that. So that's why I feel anxious. But the context is, like Rimdi said, like Steph said, things can change in 6 months, things can change in a month, and that's good or bad. You know?
Or in it, I think what we're all saying, there's a lot of stripping away of the ego that has to happen when it comes to
Yeah.
this notion of legacy, because a lot of it is fluff, right? There's like when I think about legacy or a life well lived, and I mean, sometimes, like you said, not to, sometimes you don't have any control over it, and there is really no time on it. If Mandela was in prison for 27 years, can you imagine on can you imagine just some days, imagine you've started a movement or you've started the work on something and you're in prison for 27 years. I don't want to think about how many times he was like, F this, right? I don't even want to, it's terrifying to think about how many times he thought about if he is forgotten. And I'm sure 27 years, what people probably forget? He's probably a myth in some people's mind. And to come out and become president at whatever age, right? On the flip side, another South African, Steve Biko, who was one of the early founders of the Black Power movement. He died in prison at age 30. 30. How old you be? 33? 30. And he left a lot. His legacy, much of his legacy occurred after he died, right? And sorry to say, many of the people that we glorify, we only talk about the legacy and the impact posthumously, right? Whether it's from Nipsey Hussle to Picasso, whose paintings weren't seen as valuable until
And
long after. You understand me? So, like I said, like we've all said, I think we need to strip away ego when it comes to legacy and strip away ego when it comes to what do we think should be a life well lived, right? If you've, if the people around you feel loved and feel appreciated and they are cared for, and even if they are not cared for to the level that you would like, but they appreciate the time and the effort that you've invested into their lives, into their relationship. I don't think there's anything more valuable than that. You understand what I'm saying? And I think sometimes the universe kind of prevents us from achieving certain things too early because I think sometimes when you achieve things too early, when you're not prepared for it, the Bible talk about putting new wine in old wineskins and all of those things. I don't think we'll be able to appreciate the things that we've accomplished and achieved if we've achieved it before the time that we're supposed to achieve it, if that makes sense. Because I can tell you, if I had achieved some of the things that I've achieved at this stage at 21, it would have been a completely different me, right? It just might have been. Or I might have, I can't think about it because the things I've achieved now, I believe are the things I've achieved now. Or who I am now, I am happy that I am who I am now versus who I was 10, 20 years ago. And I think it is all part of the same conversation that we're having, but we need to strip away the ego from who we are. And like we said, I mean,
maybe
quite frankly, once we horizontal and forever unconscious, none of this might matter. Or you hit 79 and you cuss out somebody the worst way right before you hit 80, or you lick down somebody in a car, right? right? And that's the thing you remember for. That make news at the age of 79. You think
Or
nobody give a damn
or
about all the things that they do?
or the text message that you sent when you were 17 that resurfaced when you're
Yeah,
65.
brother, you get me? You get me? Like these, I mean, so sometimes it's really an effort. It's a lesson in futility, right? You know, so
Yeah.
you send a
Maybe,
very egregious photo to the wrong person, and
Mm.
when you make it in a life, when you make your billions, they say, "Hey yo, me have that photo, yeah." Right
Yeah.
now.
yeah.
So
That's
I don't
so
know.
it's it
let me ask you a question.
Maybe,
As as
maybe
you
it's
said that
enough.
right now, what you think Bill Cosby will be remembered for right now?
you already know what you're gonna be remembered for. You already
As
know.
messed
It
up
did
as
that
messed up as that so as messed up as that sound, what you think Bill Cosby is
did
going
I
to?
did the dominant thing that he's going to be remembered for. I won't say the only thing,
Okay.
but the dominant
Yeah,
thing that
not the
he's going
only
to be
thing, but the
remembered
damage.
for. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's that there is no there's no going around that, right? Clint, Clinton, Bill Clinton, what he's going to be remembered for. When you hear Clinton, what's the next name you think about? You're not thinking about him policy or nothing. The next name you think about, a Lewinsky. You get me?
I did not. I
It's
did not
just,
have sexual relations with that woman.
there you go. There you go. Right? It's even people like Gavi. It's interesting every time. Coincidentally, today is Marcus Garvey's birthday. The thing that people talk about after they talk about his greatness is, say he had two wife named Amy. And in my mind I'm like, okay, should that erase the legacy of the things that he did, that he married two people named Amy? Okay, right. But it's again, your legacy isn't always good. At the end of the day, I think it's really just for you to strip away all of the noise, like Rimsey say. Try to get rid of all of those things and just think about what is a good life for you and live that life, right?
Yeah,
At the end of the
maybe.
day, nothing else. You can't control nothing else.
Yeah, maybe it's enough that our legacy is us striving to be good men.
Brilliant. Well said. That and that should be as far as it is, because when it comes down to it, nobody's going to put on your tombstone your net worth. Nobody's going to put on your tombstone your net worth. Nobody. All they're going to put is the age and whether this person was a loving father,
Loving father.
a cherished son, and a good
What was
husband.
it? What
Or
was it John Wick? What was it John Wick told Winston to put on him tombstone? L- Loving father or something like that. Or a good man or something like that.
or something like that. So
Yeah. It wasn't how much, you know?
it
So
that's really it, and I think that is the most humbling thing. So uh like I said, I know we can. I'm glad that we paused to talk about this now, because I know tomorrow we probably wake up and still battle the same voices, still struggle against the same noises. But I think the starting point is saying it out loud, and knowing that, one, we're not alone in this. There are hundreds and thousands, dare I say millions of people walking this earth who are thinking about these things, reflecting, having the same angst and anxiety, panic attack, and all of those things, bias. But for the people listening, I want to know, do you think about legacy as much as we do? What do you think about legacy? I would love to hear from the women about this as well. Do you think about legacy? And when you think about your legacy, what do you think about? And of course, I want to hear from the men as well. What do you think is your legacy? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as usual. Let's keep the numbers. Let's keep the numbers going up. Let's keep the truth spreading. So, bros,
All right,
thank
bro.
you for thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I know this was a heavy one, but I appreciate the honesty as usual.
All right, bro. Catching up on the
anytime,
next
man.
one.
All right, peace.